peace. He told them, quote, commit to a daily personal prayer for peace. Gather together to share moments of Eucharistic adoration before the Lord, the King of Peace, end quote. For more news with a Catholic perspective, visit EWTNnews.com. Women of Grace with Johnnette Williams starts now.
This is Women of Grace Live, discussing issues important to your life and faith. Spiritual insight, practical wisdom. Join us as we transform the world one woman at a time. Women of Grace, for such a time as this. Now, here's your host, Johnnette Williams.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Women of Grace Live. I am Johnnette Williams, so very happy to be with you today. I certainly am. Oh, my goodness sakes. I have missed you. Yeah. You know, over this Labor Day weekend, Jack and I were away, and so I didn't have opportunity to be with you live, but I know we had some very good shows for you to listen to. But it's great to be back in the saddle and to have an opportunity to join you, especially since it's Wednesday, and it's a Wacky Wednesday, and we want to talk about some of the weird and wacky things that we see going on out there in the world today. We have Sue Brinkman with us. She's going to answer your questions, of course, because, well, that's what we do here on Women of Grace Live, where we love to have that holy conversation and to help you live the abundant life and to share that abundant life with others. I mean, I'll tell you what, we're always striving to live that abundant life in these parts here, and some days we do really well, and then other days, not so much. I was reading this morning in my time of prayer, a beautiful meditation in Divine Intimacy, number 293, if you think you would like to read it and you have a copy of Divine Intimacy. It's on perseverance. It was actually one of last week's readings, but I didn't get to it. And so I was reading it today, and boy, I'll tell you, it was stressing the fact that, you know, there's two kinds of perseverance. One is the kind of heroic virtue where the person is actually in this state of transforming union with God and are always about the business of movement according to the will of the Holy Spirit and the way in which He is blowing them, the direction in which He's leading them by way of His guidance and direction. And the other one is, you know, the kind of perseverance that hopefully will get us to that point where, you know, we make a determination, we're going to practice this virtue, we strive for it, and then we fall down. Right? We, you know, through weakness, through a thought that is uncharitable, whatever the case may be, we fail. But then what do? We get right back up again, don't we? We get right back up and we keep striving for that virtue. We repent and we move forward, right? And that's the other kind of perseverance. And that's the kind of perseverance that I would guess the majority of us, you know, find ourselves in, that we're striving for perfection. We're striving toward that goal of union with God. And we do achieve it. There's you know, degrees of movement towards perfection. But until we really arrive there, should we arrive there in this life, you know, we are subject to the weaknesses of the flesh, you know, to the instability of matter. That's what I learned from this reading today. The instability of matter. It was fascinating. It was a fascinating reading. I learned a lot from it. And, you know, it's something that I just want to kind of ruminate on, you know, chew over and over again, right? Just kind of take that beautiful spiritual direction and begin to own it. But let me just share with you that, you know, there's all kinds of ways in which we strive through Women of Grace to help you live that abundant life and to share it with others, to, you know, grow in that virtue of perseverance, that beautiful virtue of patient endurance that accompanies perseverance, that beautiful gift that we're called to experience by way of the action of the Holy Spirit within us. And we've got numbers of things coming up for you. I want to give you some of those beautiful ways in which you can join us at Women of Grace. And we really do want you to join us. And oftentimes guys say, well, you know, this is just for women. Well, for the most part, it is. It's an outreach to women. But there are many ways in which you can interact with us too if you don't happen to be a woman, right? And we invite you to do that. And one of those ways is through our upcoming book study that Sue Brinkman, you know, our Wednesday person here, is going to be leading beginning on September the 9th. And it's on this beautiful book. I've been sharing with you about it. Gentlemen, you will find a home in this because it is entitled Maurice and Therese, the Story of a Love. And this is a story about St. Therese of Lisieux and a seminarian that she was encouraging through this beautiful charism of spirituality spiritual maternity, to come into the fullness of his manhood, but his manhood in light of his vocation and his call to be a priest of God. And I'll tell you, it is a touching book. Sue reminded us yesterday in our staff meeting that Therese of Lisieux was actually dying at the point in time when she's communicating with this young man, right? She's in her last travail with the tuberculosis that eventually took her life. And to see this outpouring of love and affection and the tenderness of heart, I mean, we were talking just a moment ago about heroic virtue. Well, here we have it. I mean, here we have a display of that. Just a beautiful, beautiful book study that I know is going to enhance your love of St. Therese of Lisieux, but also encourage you in the direction that God is leading you in your life, and the way in which he wants to bring you into this fullness of his love for you and into this fullness of union with him. So I just can't say enough about this book. Love it. It was Bishop Patrick Ahern, an auxiliary bishop of New York years ago, who compiled all of these communications and put them to this book with his own commentary in them. And you'll even be treated to an opportunity to see that interview that I did with him so many years ago on this book. So it's going to be delightful. If you haven't signed up, please do. It's not too late to sign up. I mean, this is done virtually, so there's no need for you to worry about transportation. You can sit in the comfort of your own home and participate in this. And there's still time, obviously, for you to get your book. And we've got all that available for you at Women of Grace. So we don't want you to tarry, because we do want you to have your book so that you can begin the study right then and there with everybody else. And that's September the 9th. All of the information is at our website, womenofgrace.com. And you can get out there, just click on that. It's listed in upcoming events right on the homepage. And you will be able to register right online for that. We've also got a Morning of Grace and an Evening of Grace coming up September 10th and September 12th, respectively. These are free opportunities for you to participate in right online with a group of women who will lead you through a wonderful, wonderful hour or so in union with other women who have gathered there via the abilities that we have through technology today. So this is a great way for you to learn a little bit more about our organization by virtue of participation in an event that's held right online, free of charge. We have one every month for you. The ones coming up, I'm not really sure what the topic is. I should get out here and take a look so I can tell you, oh, you're going to love this, because we celebrate the Feast of the Angels, right? The Archangels and the Guardian Angel shortly thereafter in this beautiful month of September. Our Guardian Angel, our messenger from God, is the topic, and we're going to learn about angels. We'll actually have an opportunity to share and engage through that opportunity. So one is being held in the morning, that's on September 10th, one in the evening on September the 9th. Now, I do want to remind you, and very important, I want to remind you about our Benedicta Institute for Women. I want to remind you about the opportunity for either spiritual enrichment or to gain a certification in Catholic women's leadership through Women of Grace's Outreach Benedicta Institute. I'm going to tell you more about that on the other side of the break. Sue is going to be with us on the other side of the break. We're going to be getting into a big discussion today. We want you to join us here. Now, the way to join us today is via YouTube or by sending your question to us via text or email. So I want you to get right on that. Let me give you the ways in which you can join us that way. Leave your questions send your questions to us via text. Text the letters EWTN to 58177. Text the letters EWTN to 58177. Wait for our response. Then text us your first name and your brief question. Message and data rates apply. YouTube is available for you. And we're going to give you some other ways to join us on this special Women of Grace today. We're live for you. Coming right back.
On the next Beacon of Truth, Word of God Wednesday, diving into the book of Mark.
I'm Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers, and I invite you to join me for Beacon of Truth.
This is Jim Pinto, Director of EWTN Media Missionaries. Mother Angelica said, "The essence of evangelization is to tell everybody Jesus loves you." You can help EWTN share the good news by becoming a media missionary. Visit EWTNmissionaries.com today and join us in sharing the eternal word with the world.
Sisters in Christ, have you considered continuing your education? Now you can obtain a certification in Catholic women's leadership through the Benedicta Institute for Women. Our upcoming fall week-long immersive course, The Dignity of Dust, Contemplating Our Humanity, begins October 14th at St. Bernard Abbey in Coleman, Alabama. In order to know how to act, we first must know who we are. Doing follows being. This course asks the question, who is the human being? Dr. Donald Wallenfang, professor of theology and philosophy and our academic advisor, will lead us through this engaging course as we explore the writings of St. Teresa Benedicta of the Cross and Carol Hauslander. To learn more about the Benedicta Institute and to register for this fall course, visit us at benedictainstitute.com or call 800-558-5452. Consider earning a certification or come for your own spiritual growth.
EWTN. Live truth, live Catholic.
If you have the iHeartRadio app, you can listen to the EWTN radio live stream. Go to iHeartRadio and search EWTN.
Well, there you hear that wacky music letting you know it is Wacky Wednesday in case you had forgotten. Yep. We take your questions and all of the weird and wacky that you are seeing in your midst out there. Generally, I am pumping those numbers for you to use. But today we don't have phones available to us today, but there are ways that you can reach us, and I'm encouraging you to use YouTube. You can leave your questions and comments on our YouTube feed for EWTN. So EWTN Radio's YouTube channel is available for you today, and you can text your questions to us to EWTN to 58177. So you text the letters EWTN to 58177. Wait for our response. Then text us your first name and your brief question. Message and data rates may apply. We are eager to receive those from you. We've got Charles Beery out there that's going to be collecting your questions on YouTube, and he'll be getting these for us too. We're just going to get them all together here. Also, you might email your questions to us today to womenofgrace@EWTN.com. That's womenofgrace@EWTN.com. And we will keep our eye on our studio chat here to make certain that we are able to get to your questions today. It's a unique way of reaching us since we don't have the phones open, but guess what? You can reach us, and we're eager for you to do that. So I do want to just share with you a couple of more things happening at Women of Grace before we get to Sue. So just let me remind you about our Benedicta Institute for Women. This is a beautiful, beautiful opportunity. It's named for St. Teresa Benedicta of the Cross, and she had this beautiful philosophy of woman. When we look at Catholic women today, we see that there is a great need for Catholic women to be who they are, because I believe that Catholic women, along with others who understand the beauty and wonder of who they are and how they are made in God's eyes and who they're called to be by virtue of that gift of their authentic femininity, I believe that they're going to be a solution to some of the problems and difficulties that we see today. So we want to raise women up into the fullness of who they are in Christ Jesus to be leaders in the world today. Now, when we say leaders, people immediately think, well, you know, I don't have any plans to run for political office, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's not the point. We become a leader by the way in which we conduct ourselves. It is by what we do and what we say, but it's really about being who we are. Doing follows being. That's a beautiful, beautiful maxim given to us by Aristotle first, and then St. Thomas Aquinas. And it's the motto for the Benedicta Institute for Women. Doing follows being. We must be who God's called us to be, and then we will be a natural leader in the world today. And no matter what our position or state in life is, no matter what our vocation is, no matter what our profession is, in that profession, we will be a light shining in the darkness who will lead people to the truth of who they are. It's a beautiful reality. That's the way it was meant to work. That's the way it was set up, you know. So we want to help women to achieve that by this deepening of understanding of the beautiful reality of who woman is. So whether you want to join us for spiritual enrichment only, or whether you want to work towards that certification, nonetheless, we want you to join us. And we're going to be having an intensive right in this area here in Alabama, in Coleman, Alabama, at St. Bernard's Abbey. And it's a wonderful opportunity. Our academic advisor, Dr. Donald Wallenfang, is going to be teaching this immersive. It's going to run from October 14th to October the 20th. Beautiful opportunity for us to learn more about the reality of woman. We're going to be doing that through a course called The Dignity of Dust, Contemplating Our Humanity. Who are we as human persons? Who are we specifically as female human persons? I mean, I can't think of anything more exciting to explore. And we're going to be exploring that together. We're going to be doing that through some marvelous texts that will accompany us along the way. All of the information is available for you at our website, womenofgrace.com. Simply get out there, click on it, and you'll be able to register right online. You'll be able to find out more about the Benedicta Institute, specifically what this program looks like, what the certification aspect of it looks like. And it is not too late to join us. We are eager for you to join us here. And I can tell you, we've got people that will help you in any way, by way of explanation, by way of getting you started, answering your questions, whatever it is that you might have, we are here to help you. We are at the ready for it. Many other things coming up later in the fall, but these are the ones that I wanted to talk about today, the four most recent ones coming up here. Our book study, the Morning of Grace, the Evening of Grace, and our Benedicta Institute for Women. So all of that, get out there to our website and take a look. Now, I want to introduce to you Sue Brinkman. She indeed is our staff researcher for the New Age, so that she can help us to understand authentic spirituality from all of the various kinds of false spiritualities that are being presented to us through all kinds of diverse means. We're going to get into some topics right now, but again, we do want to hear from you. The way that we can hear from you today is via YouTube by leaving a question for us there, which Charles Beery will happily retrieve and get up on the board, or by texting your questions to us. And to text them, you simply text the letters EWTN to 58177. And you wait for our response and let us know your first name and what your question is. Message and data rates may apply. That's text the letters EWTN to 58177. Another way that you can reach us yet again is by getting out there to us via email. womenofgrace@EWTN.com is the way you can do it. Want to remind you of one more thing. Catholic News Agency is available for you. CNA is set to cover the mission and activities of the Catholic Church. It includes social, political, moral, and cultural issues. It'll present them to you from the perspective of our faith. You can simply access and get the latest Catholic news by visiting CatholicNewsAgency.com. It's online. And the service from EWTN News makes it available to you. You can get timely updates. So we invite you to get out there and take a look at all of that. Now, the one, the only, Sue Brinkman. Hey, Sue.
Hey, how are you today? Boy, you've got a lot of work going on here, right? We're busy at Women of Grace. We don't sit still.
Ever so busy. I'm telling you, it's the truth. We had a staff meeting yesterday, friends, and I'll tell you what, we have a staff meeting. What is it, Sue? It's not every other week anymore. It's once a month. We're trying this. We were every other week, right? But now we're once a month. Go ahead, tell them.
And we just sit there and talk about everything that we're doing, and it goes on and on and on because we're all doing so much. And there's not a lot of us, and that's the thing I love about us here at Women of Grace. You know, we're not a whole lot of bells and whistles here with the staff. Everything is very simple. So I, being Carmelite, feel very at home here. I feel very at home here. And anybody, really, because we keep ourselves very focused on what we're doing. That is to change the world one woman at a time. And what else could be more important than that, really, during this day and age? So that's what I love about it. And everybody here, and we all get along so well. We're just like, brothers and sisters in Christ. We really are very close. We work together well. Um, we just love it. We all love it here. And you can tell in our meetings because they go on and on and on, and it doesn't matter because
Well,
we love them.
yesterday Central Time, we got started at 11 o'clock, and we didn't end until it was 2. So it was a 3-hour meeting. So there you have it, But there's 10 of us on our staff, and Sue is right. We do all kinds of different things. And what you're expressing, Sue, is so right. I mean, we are all there joined together because of the sense of mission that we have. And there is a beautiful, beautiful, I want to use the word collegiality, and yet that isn't it exactly. There is that beautiful sisterhood with our one brother, Tom Sullivan, right? And it is a beautiful expression, I think, of how the Lord would have it be, being in community together. It doesn't mean that we don't all see everything the same way. We have our discussions about, well, should we approach it this way or that way? And this way is probably better. No, this way is better. We have that. But by the same token, there is that humble openness of response to the other that, really leads to a beautiful, beautiful harmony in the Lord. So all of that being said, we were very busy, and there is a lot that's going on, and you are always out there researching stuff. And we want to approach a couple of topics here before we get into some of the text messages that are coming in. And remember, you can text us. You text the letters EWTN to 58177. You can also use YouTube today and leave your question in the chat feature there for us. These are the ways that we're available to you today. There's some, updating and things that are going on at radio today, so our phone lines are not available. But that doesn't mean we're not available to you, because we certainly are through those two means. And you can also email us at womenofgrace@ewtn.com, and we will strive to get your questions that way today too. But Sue, you wanted to talk with us. Yoga. This yoga phase. This I'm calling it a phase. I mean, it's a trend, but it's been a long-standing trend. Probably, I'd say, going back to the 60s, coming forward. The East coming into the West, and really. A misappropriation of what yoga is to those of the East, but something that's really grabbed the a cultural interest of the people of this day and time. We're always trying to show that it's not healthy for us spiritually, and really not healthy for us physically. And it keeps taking different shapes and forms. I mean, this is a thing that is so far away from what it is to the Eastern person who practices yoga. But all of that being said, you've got something you want to share with us about today with regard to yoga. So let's just dive right into it.
Yeah, it's a new, not a new spinoff. It's actually been around for a long time, since 1935, really, but it's really coming of age right now. It's becoming very popular, and it's called Acro Yoga. And that's a combination of acrobatics and yoga. And what it is um, two people perform this. One person is the base person. They lay in an L-based position, and we have a picture on the blog that just came out yesterday of what this looks like. There's a person on the bottom, and he's in an L position, laying on his back with his legs up in the air and his arms up in the air. And what happens is he holds up the other person, the second person, who is doing the yoga pose, but they're doing it now aloft while being held up. And this is becoming like a new craze. Everybody's really getting into this acro yoga. And obviously you have to be in very good shape to do this. Acrobatics is not an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of physical fitness, a lot of strength to be able to do these different moves. And you're combining them now with yoga. And what happened is a 32-year-old woman from San Diego, and this is a tragic story. This just happened. Her name is Abby Weiss, and she suffered an accident 2 months ago while doing this very ambitious type of yoga called acro yoga, and she's now paralyzed from the neck down. And the sad part, I mean, that's sad enough, but the fact that this woman, she was a fitness fanatic. She was a very enthusiastic participant in acro yoga. She'd been practicing it for 4 years at that point. Very active. She loved to dance. She loved to hike. She loved to travel. And now she tells her dad, since the accident, she feels like she's living in a straitjacket. She can't do anything for herself. She is paralyzed from the neck down.
Oh, my goodness.
It was just such a heartbreaking story about how the family had to go to her apartment in San Diego and clean it all out for her because she can't move. She can't move, all because she was participating in this and had an accident of some kind. And a lot of yoga moves, and we do have blogs in here about the dangers, the physical dangers of yoga, which you never really hear much about because it's such a craze and it's such a fad. And you know how the media is, anything that's not Christian, they always make sure that it's presented in the best possible light. And they don't want you to know that a lot of people get hurt in yoga, particularly in overextensions of the back, which, you know, in these backward bends that they do, and also of the neck. And we have some blogs, as I said, out there that get into a little bit more detail about the dangers, the physical dangers of yoga. It's some of the moves are just not for everybody. And this is from yoga practitioners and yoga teachers who tell you that it's not for everybody. And a lot of them have been injured in it. So, you know, you have doctors and whatever who come out and say, oh, you should really be practicing yoga. It's good for this. It's good for your balance. Good for the other thing. Well, the author of a book, William Broad, he wrote this book, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago now. He had problems with his back, and his doctor recommended yoga. And guess what? He got hurt in yoga, and now his back is worse than it ever was. So gotta be careful with yoga. Physically.
Right. And of course, you know, I think it's very important to mention, and I had said this, you know, basically in prelude to you coming on live there, and that is that, you know, what we're talking about here is Hatha Yoga. And this is a type of yoga that uses these various postures and, you know, stretching moves. And so people here, and this is the one that has been so widely sold as an aid to health and an aid to physical fitness. You know, we really put it into the category of stretching exercises, but that's not what these postures are, you know, and we've talked about this in the past. These postures, you know, are really putting the body into the shape and the form of Hindu gods. So, you know, this is actually, you know, I think a type of blasphemy in the sense that you are putting your body into the shape and the form of a false god, sin against the first commandment. Now, I'm not saying that this is an intentional action on the part of individuals that participate in this, so don't misunderstand me. But what I'm saying is if you think about it very long and hard, you realize that, oh my gosh, you know, do I want to put myself into the shape and the form of a Hindu god? I mean, you know, isn't that in some way incorporating into my own physicality something that stands in opposition to the Lord? And we don't understand that. And to the Hindu, Hatha Yoga is not a stretching exercise, and it's really a, what do I want to say? It's an insult, you know, to someone who is Hindu. Now, we can go into a deeper explanation if we want to of what yoga really is, Sue, and I would welcome you to do that. But it irritates me because of the way in which this is sold and marketed, and that's why it's such a big craze.
Exactly, and it's very offensive to Indians, to the Indian people. Very offensive. This is their religion, and we're mocking it.
Yes, it's exactly right. It's exactly true. And you know how sensitive we as Catholics are, and Christians as well, you know, of other denominations, you know, it's very upsetting when our faith is mocked. Well, so it is for them too. Well, I would give you the numbers, but we don't have phones today, but I can give you a way to reach us. You can reach us out there at EWTN Radio's YouTube channel. Use that chat feature there, or text the letters EWTN to 58177. Wait for our response and text us your first name and your message. Data rates may apply. We're going to be right back. Stay with us.
The most original Catholic content is on EWTN Radio. Anytime we have a guest on the show, the first thing you do to respect that guest is make sure that you do your proper research, that you're ready. So many of our guests have commented that they love being on the show because we take that time and we brought something out of them that they'd never shared before.
The World Over with Raymond Arroyo, Thursday night, 8 Eastern on EWTN Radio and Television.
Hi, I'm Doug Keck. This is an EWTN Bookmark Brief. Just had the pleasure of speaking with Father Robert McTague, S.J., about his book, Real Philosophy for Real People, Tools for Truthful Living. So let me ask you, Father, why'd you write this book, and what are these tools useful for?
The book was a distillation of what I've been doing in the classroom for 20 years. I wanted to give the kids not only lie detectors, but lie refuters and lie promoters. People want to know, what can they know, what should they do, what may they hope for. They're being lied to by the culture, they're being addicted and seduced by the culture. This will boost your cognitive immune system and give you a set of tools to guide you through life.
Father Robert McTague, S.J., his book, Real Philosophy for Real People, Tools for Truthful Living, with an afterword by our good friend Father Robert Spitzer, his good friend as well. This has been a Bookmark Brief. Thanks for stopping by.
Your favorite EWTN radio programs are all over social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud, and they're available right now, on demand, day or night. Remember, EWTN is everywhere.
Hi, this is Cy Kellett. Later today on Catholic Answers Live, Joe Heschmeyer, Ask Him Anything, both hours. Catholic Answers Live, 6 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio. Now, back to Women of Grace.
Well, welcome back, friends. You're listening to Women of Grace Live. I am Johnnette Williams. It's Wednesday. That means it's Wacky Wednesday right here on Women of Grace. We talk about the weird and the wacky. On this day, Sue Brinkman, our guest, she is our researcher. She's not really our guest. She's a staff member. She's a regular. But she is a guest, I suppose. Anyway, all of that being said, I'll have to figure that one out later. But all of that being said, Sue is with us today, and we are happy to answer your questions on anything weird and wacky that you see going on out there. Sue is our researcher for the New Age through Women of Grace. She is on our staff, and I'll tell you what, she does keep us all abreast of what's happening in this particular area and section of cultural influences today. So I want to invite you to get out to our website, womenofgrace.com, and take a look at the New Age blog. Sue is always posting up there. She's always getting new things up there for us. In addition to that, she oftentimes will provide us with a little podcast regarding a particular topic. It's called Grace Under Fire, Exposing the Darkness. That's available for you in our library area. You can reach that blog by going to newage.womenofgrace.com. That'll take you directly to the blog. Or you can just go to our website, womenofgrace.com, and you'll see it down there on that homepage, and click on that and it'll open it up. There's a search feature there. You can search by topic of interest, and lots of articles will come up probably on anything that you would research. There's just so much that's available for you there. We were talking about it yesterday, actually, in the staff meeting. We've been doing this, Sue's been doing this blog since 2009. Imagine such a thing. 2009, that's 15 years of putting blogs up there. We have well over 1,000. We're inching toward 2,000. I think that we've got like about 1,700 blogs out there right now on a variety of topics, and we know that they're accessed across the world, accessed by lots of priests and exorcists and individuals that want to know more and have a lot of questions. So we invite you to use that. We want to remind you again that you can also email your questions to us today. Email us at womenofgrace@ewtn.com. Questions we're retrieving from YouTube channel, from EWTN Radio's YouTube channel. And we also are inviting you to text your questions to us. You're going to text the letters EWTN to 58177. I encourage you to wait for our response. Then put your first name in there and your brief question, message, and data rates may apply. So, Sue, I do want to get to some of these questions because they are coming in, but I want to finish up this discussion on Hatha Yoga and Acro Yoga and all of those things, which really, in some way are it's a prevarication. It's a lie. It's a lie against what that really is, because yoga is not meant to be an exercise. Hatha yoga is not, just an alternative way of stretching. It has a spiritual significance in the Hindu culture.
Exactly. And as far as acro yoga is concerned, people say, well, is that really yoga? Well, according to Acro Yoga Montreal, they claim that there's no separation between acro yoga and reality. They claim. Another site I visited, I asked the same question, and they had an answer on there. Somebody said, would practicing acro yoga contradict my religious affiliation? And the site acknowledged that some poses come from the standard yoga poses, which may carry a religious undertone. So they're at least honest about it.
Yeah.
They tell it to you. There's so many of us that want to say, oh, it's just exercise. But the problem with that, and I think it was pointed out so well by Father Mitch Pacwa many years ago when he said, hey, guess what? Those poses were never designed to be exercises.
Nope.
That's not what they are. So the exercises aren't exercises. So how can what you're doing be just an exercise if it wasn't an exercise in the first place? And to be very careful about that, and also very careful about the scandal. A lot of people come after us because of our position on yoga. We do not recommend the practice of any form of yoga, regardless of what it looks like or what they're telling you about it. Goat yoga, there's naked yoga, there's all kinds of yogas out there. We have dozens of blogs on yoga that you will find very interesting and some entertaining, I'm sure. But the fact of the matter is that yoga is associated with Hinduism. Even if people don't understand how it's associated with it, it still is associated with Hinduism. And for you to be practicing it, that could cause scandal to somebody. They might look at what you're doing and say, well, look, she's a good Catholic, but she practices yoga. So maybe Hinduism isn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's okay to practice this. And you look at Maccabees, and I always turn to this story, Maccabees 3, 18 to 31, where Eliezer refused to eat the pork that was being offered. They had to eat this pork and prove that they were going to, worship these other gods. And everybody loved Eliezer. And they said to him, listen, we'll give you beef. We'll give you another, just pretend to eat it. And that way they won't kill you, because they were going to kill anyone who wouldn't eat it. And he says, no, I'm not going to do that, because the people watching, the other Jewish people who are watching me will see me eat it and think it's okay. And he didn't, and he went to his death for that. He refused to eat it. He was not willing to cause that kind of scandal. And you look at us on how, are we a little too willing sometimes to create scandal, or do we even realize that we are creating a scandal? Because if we are, then we're a stumbling block to our neighbor, and we are not living in love. Our conduct is no longer in accord with love. And that's Romans verse 15. And if it is offending somebody, you should stop doing it. You should stop doing it. And if you find that you can't stop doing it and you get all upset about that, then that's a whole other thing that you need to deal with. Because then you're in bondage.
Exactly right. And we don't want to go there. That there's no question about that. So, very good advice and counsel, Sue, that you're offering today. And that's really a gripping story from the Old Testament there. So check it out in Maccabees. Probably going to find a way to use that in a talk in the not too distant future. We have a text from Angela, and she is out there. She's listening to us today. She says, what is manifesting? And she is talking about manifesting your goals, right? It's an interesting question. We hear this word. One of the things that I think that's happening is that we're almost afraid to use words today, because we can use a word and it gets an interpretation that's based on a cultural understanding today that generally comes from the occult in some fashion. And manifest is one of them.
Yes, it is. It's all the rage these days is manifesting. And what it's about is using your mind to will your goals into existence. And you use tools such as meditation and guided visualization, vision boards, and other different rituals that many believe can make things happen if you do this, which is not the way you're supposed to be manifesting. It's okay if you visualize your dreams in order to keep yourself motivated toward achieving them. There's nothing wrong with that. by virtue of your own efforts now. So there's nothing wrong with that. But the popular practice of manifesting, that goes a lot further. This is just an updated version of the good old law of attraction that it's kind of sporting a shiny new package right now. It's described as essentially willing your goals into existence by believing that your thoughts are energy and they have a power all their own, and that power can attract these things that you're looking for. They're going to attract them. Actually, they will be realized just by your thoughts. That's what the law of attraction is. So that's making the mind into a kind of God, this magical thinking. It's thinking that your thoughts have some sort of power that they don't have. So you have to be very, very careful about it. We have a blog out there that explains it in detail and gives you links to different articles that you can read about manifesting. But as I said, if you just sit there and dream about, one day I want to get a book published and dream about what it would feel like to publish that book and let that motivate you to continue to work toward that goal. There is nothing wrong with that. But sitting there and saying to yourself, I'm going to, I really, really want to get this book published and blah, blah, blah. And that's going to make the publisher come to me and take my book. And that's going to make all this happen for me. That's where you're crossing a line. And you see what a fine line that is, Johnnette. Mm-hmm. It's a very fine line there between just wanting to motivate yourself and believing that you can make it happen because you're thinking that way. That's what the manifesting, the popular manifesting, that's all the rage these days. That's what that's about. Is actually making it happen by the power of your thoughts.
Yeah, it's very interesting because if you look at a lot of what the New Age spouts, it's something that it's like a heresy. You start with something that has a certain truth to it, and then you exaggerate it, and that's what it is. And I'm glad that you pointed out the difference between just using the mind to be a motivator. I mean, you're a writer, Sue. You write books, and I'm a writer. I write books. I write studies, and you have to be thinking about that, right? But you can't think that your thinking is going to make it happen if you don't sit down in front of your computer and put those fingers on those keys and use the talent that God's given to you to achieve that ultimate product. It's not going to happen. And the same with me. But this is that magical thinking. And this was made very, very, I think, prominent and popular by Oprah Winfrey years ago when she really supported this law of attraction. It's interesting. You can watch her, if you look at any of those old shows, you can see how she begins to veer a little off track, and then pretty soon she's really embraced the totality of what the New Age offers. And the law of attraction was one of those steps. There was a book that was out some years ago, and you know more about this than I do, but it was called The Secret. And but this is really just a repackaging of New Thought that was something that was popular, a long time ago. I mean, I don't know, the last century, late 1800s, early 1900s.
Right, good old Phineas Quimby, 19th century spiritualist and philosophy. He had all kinds of things that he was transcendentalism. He mixed in there Hinduism. All different philosophical and religious traditions. He was all kind of melding that all together into that New Thought movement. And that was a very big part of it, is that you can attract what you want simply by thinking about it.
Yeah, Edgar Cayce.
It's Edgar Cayce. It's another one. Yeah. There's it's all
Napoleon
over
Hill.
the internet, John.
We could name those
Napoleon
people.
Hill. Remember Think and Get Rich?
Yep.
I think he's the one who authored that book, Think and Get Rich. Yeah, all of these guys. It was very big. It's being repackaged. This stuff really never really changes. It's all in a way a form of Gnosticism that's been around since early Christianity, 2,000 years now. But it's all over the internet, and people they say it in such positive words. I found one talk from an article, and here's the woman's name, Moon Onyx Star. That's her name. So that's my first red flag. Once I got to that, she was an expert on this whole manifesting thing. And she says, if you want to attract money into your life, but you have negative emotions and limiting beliefs surrounding money, then you're actually preventing it from coming into your life. And the same goes for love, success, or anything else that you would like to manifest. So in other words, if you're not attracting certain things to yourself, if something terrible has happened to you, say you've been abused, um, some others have mentioned the Holocaust and that. If you really follow the law of attraction, you're saying that those people brought that on themselves by the
That's
way they were
exactly
thinking.
right. Well, oftentimes whenever this kind of an issue comes up on our program here, I make reference to a dear friend of mine who I taught school with many years ago. And she developed breast cancer, and it was virulent, and it metastasized, and it was going everywhere in her body. And I remember very clearly, it got to the place where the doctors told her that there isn't anything more that we can do for you. You're going to die. And she called me, and she and I were just a couple of months apart in age. I was just a couple of months older than she. And she said, Johnnette, she said, whoever thought that I would die at 40? Well, the fact is she didn't make it to 40. God bless her and God rest her soul. She died at 39. But I remember when she got that news from her doctor, she called me. And she said, I just got this news from my doctor. And I said, I'll be right there. And I jumped in my car and I drove to her house, and I went in and I was sitting there with her, and I was talking with her and I was praying with her. And she said, I don't understand how this happened. She said, because I just would only allow myself to think positive thoughts. I wouldn't think any negative thoughts. Somehow this is my fault. And here is this woman. She's just received a death sentence, basically. And she's blaming herself because of her thoughts. I mean, this is how this stuff can infuse itself into you, and I was, I tried to undo as much as I could undo of that in the brief conversation that we were able to have there. But, we have to be very careful. Oh, it is. It is sad. I think of her all of the time. I pray for her all of the time. She was just the sweetest person in the world. She just a lovely lady. But that's beside the point. My point is that, when we allow, some of these thought processes to enter into our worldview and the way in which we approach life, we can heap stuff on us. And you're bringing another very good point. I was taking it from the Holocaust to a personal experience, but that is the fact of the matter. So this is a very dangerous system of thinking. We don't want to think that way. We don't want to read books that encourage us in that direction either.
No, absolutely not. I know I went for 14 years writing before I got anything published. And how I would keep myself going was that I always read stories about other people who also waited a very long time. And that would encourage me to say, look, I'm not alone. I'm not the only person in the world who gets nothing but rejection letters from publishers. There's a lot of people out there who get them too. Just keep going. Just keep going. And that's a healthy way to go about it. But to start to think that you can make it happen by the way you're thinking, boy, that is a rabbit hole you do not want to go down.
Mm-mm. Absolutely not.
It truly is not.
Now, we have a question here that we got from, I think it's Georgia on YouTube, I think it is. Is it possible that the devil can cast spells through the media, i.e. music, movies, etc.? Is this what's going on with the youth and why they seem lost and blind? The casting of spells, Sue, let's talk about what that is, first of all.
Well, the casting of spells is something that would be done, say, by a witch or a sorcerer of some kind. And what it is it's calling upon demonic powers in order to achieve some sort of an end. It's done through rituals. Sometimes they use a picture of the person, and they cast a spell. They use it to cast a spell over them. Sometimes it's to get money to make the person love you. Sometimes it's to inflict grave harm, sickness, and even death on a person. This is spell casting, and it's the use of magic, which of course resorts to demonic powers in order to bring these things about. So that's what spell casting is. Now, can that be done through a television to people? I don't think so, because it really is personalized. Like the person, like whenever you look into witches' spells, and unfortunately in this line of work, I have to look at some of these things sometimes, they're very personal. They come right out and say the person's name. They usually have sometimes like a piece of hair from them or a picture of them, of that person, and it's more or less a personalized type of thing that I do not believe can happen over the air. I just don't believe that can happen. Maybe I'm wrong in that. I just have never heard of it. I've never read of that happening. Now, hypnosis, that's a whole different story. That can happen in mass audiences. Um, Dr. Daniel Amen, I believe, did that once on the Dr. Oz show, or somebody's show he did it on, and he actually did a hypnotism right over the air. Now, if you're actually sitting there listening to it and you have a propensity toward that type of thinking that's going to put you into hypnotic trance, that could have happened to you. That was a very dangerous thing to do, and in some countries, that's actually illegal. You can't do any kind of stage hypnosis for that reason. But as far as spells are concerned, Johnnette, I've never come across that anywhere.
Yeah.
Where that happened. Now, subliminal music, there can be some music where there's subliminal messages in the music, and that is true. We do have blogs about that out on our website. We do have blogs on that, so that's possible. There is New Age and satanic type of music. Father Amorth warns about that kind of music. Ambient music and that sort of thing to try to put people into trances and things. You got to be careful with music. But as far as the music casting a spell, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I think it can put you in a trance.
Yeah, I think what's happening with the youth in terms of the use of media is far less arcane than all that. I think that what's happening is that they're becoming influenced. There's that old adage, you are what you eat. Well, you are also by what you feed your mind with. And so if you're feeding your mind with garbage, if you're feeding your mind with all of these kinds of thoughts and messages, and you're watching these, occult shows, and you're, all caught up in that kind of stuff, you're reading books about it, which is why we don't like Harry Potter, then what you're doing is you're opening yourself up to the influence of what's being presented in the literature in which you're reading, and you begin to normalize it. Let me just point out that, like romance novels, which, are a completely different genre, but nonetheless, romance novels, that you have these women running around that think that this is the way it's supposed to be. This is how life is. And it's not like that. So, we can by the influence of that, which we're taking into our thinking process, our minds and our perception of reality is becoming shaped and molded. And I think that a lot of the youth are lost and blind because this is what they've been feeding on. And unfortunately, this is what the culture is serving up to them. And oftentimes parents unwittingly just go along with it. And even herald it and think it's all great. But the fact of the matter is it's not great. And so I think that this is, in many ways is the problem. It's just, it's, and the other thing is it's in the air. That's why I tell people we walk through our day and time. And if we think that we're unscathed by it, we're very, very naive. We have got to really look at ourselves and ask ourselves just every day, really, through an examination of conscience of some type, have I become influenced by anything today that would be in opposition to the mind and heart of God?
Exactly. It's such a good point. And the influence out there is so dark.
Mm-hmm.
I just, on the blog that we have on this subject, I just quoted just a few lines from Metallica's song The Prince, and here's what it is. Angel from below, I wish to sell my soul. Devil, take my soul with diamonds you repay. I don't care for heaven, so don't you look for me to cry, and I will burn in hell from the day I die. Why do we want to listen to music that has that kind of a message?
I don't know.
Talk about dark messaging.
There you go.
No, we don't need this.
Well, once again, Sue, thank you so very much for all of your effort, all of your time, for all that you do for the people of God and for the upbuilding of the faith. I thank you also, too, for all that you put out there through Wacky Wednesday. And friends, we invite you to join us every Wednesday. Sue is our guest. We talk about these kinds of things. You can send your questions to us in advance. We'll take them on this day. Women of Grace at EWTN.com is the way to do it. Or you can leave them on our listener comment line. That number is 1-205-271-29. No, I'm giving you the wrong number. I'm so sorry. Oh, well. All of that, 795-5773. There you go. I got it. God bless y'all. Bye-bye now.
This is Conversations with Consequences, where we delve deeper into issues